Kind of weird coming back in this room. Liverpool, we're finally going to get our financing for Liverpool. Liverpool, I'm doing this right after Cowboys. Liverpool's really arguably the Cowboys or the Redskins, and Manchester is the, you know, they are the Cowboys and Redskins of English Premier League soccer. And if you don't know much about soccer, I bet you do, because young people your age are much more global than we ever were. What the rest of the world calls football is a phenomenal sport. They get 1 billion viewers a game as compared to the relatively obscure sport we practice here called American football, which we have to have a Super Bowl before we get 1 billion viewers. Real football has huge viewership worldwide. It is the global sport. And this is one of the premier venues in that sport. Just a few of my sketches kind of setting up that project. We got the opportunity to do a stadium in a park. It would be essentially the same thing as the Jets and the Giants getting permission to do their new stadium in the end of Central Park. This is a Victorian-era park. And one of the reasons we got permission to do it was we convinced them that we could have the park literally come all the way up to the skin of the building. No parking. And so the project really sets up like this from a thought standpoint. We had to make it incredibly functional. We had to understand the context of the park. We had to deal with topography. It had a 14-meter drop from one end to the next. We had to integrate it with the surrounding neighborhood. And all this really led us to doing a building that's completely asymmetrical. So contrasting to Cowboys, Liverpool turned out to be a completely asymmetrical structure in almost every way we can show it. The roof slopes actually 5 degrees from one end to the next. And we had to understand the city. This is actually a UNESCO city center. And the building you can see up there on the right is on a hill overlooking the city. Incredibly important city in the world, and it's actually kind of sunken away from that. Many of your ancestors and mine, all of mine, if they left anywhere in Europe, they left from Liverpool when they immigrated to the United States anytime before 1920. If they left Ireland, if they left continental Europe, all the trade between the Caribbean, all the sugar trade, all the cotton trade, everything came in and out of Liverpool on its way into Europe or out of Europe. Human cargo and agricultural cargo. I didn't know that when I was your age. I learned all that working on this project, which is one of the great perks of working globally and being able to understand other cultures. This tells you a little bit about the palette we chose and why. A little bit about the site. You've done site analysis. It's not just a series of drawings that you're required to do for your class. It actually should have a lot of meaning that comes out of the backs of it. This park was designed by Olmsted's mentor, a guy named Kemp. And you know who Frederick Law Olmsted is. He designed Central Park and a number of other significant parks in the United States and all over Europe. His mentor, the guy he learned from, designed the park that this stadium's going in. And Olmsted learned his highly structured yet looks organic way of designing parks from Kemp. And so it was very important for us to understand every possible aspect of it. After doing our brand research, we realized the COP, which is this unbelievably passionate group of people that sit in the end zone, oddly, is the thing that should really drive the whole design on this project. And the COP is a Dutch term for hill. A whole regiment of Liverpudlians, which is what they're called, lost their lives in the Boer War in northern Africa on a hill. And so that section of fans actually has significance. This is the Victorian era park. This has actually been restored now. This is the final design of the building. The cop is that shape that you see on the right, the big curving shape. The other big thing we did on this building was transparency. None of the English and European soccer venues really have much transparency to them. They're all about wrapper jobs. Even the projects that Norman Foster and Herzog and DeMuren are doing are all wrapper jobs. They're not actual integrated, carefully designed buildings. They're all about, is it an Armani suit? Is it Ungaro? It's all about fashion, and that's one of the things we're actually moving away from in our industry, fortunately. And so what you see here is completely open corners. That's a very traditional English football thing that we learned carefully from and reinterpreted in a modern building. You can see how the park works. What you see here there on the left is actually the old football stadium site. This is the old position for the current stadium, which is now something that we're in the middle of planning, which will be a mixed-use development. And that's the cop. That's the end zone of the soccer field. 20,000 fans. It's literally like the choir in a Catholic church. They run the whole game. There's no video boards. There's nothing. It's irreverent to have anything telling you what the time left in the game is, the score in the game, video technology. It's completely irrelevant. It's an insult to the fans to be told something they should already know. So it's a completely different cultural experience.